Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am back in the studio with Rachel Yardeni, and we are going to keep grooving with you and talking about, this week's episode is called Bad Chapters, Wrong Paths, and Failed Dreams. How excited are you? Especially the Capricorns who are listening are like, yes, talk to me about failure. Guilt. How can I beat myself up more this week? No, actually, that's why we're talking about this, is because one of the beautiful shifts and supports from the universe we have this week is the shift from Capricorn to Aquarius. Oh, yes. So that is going to help us shift our perspective on a lot of things. But also from the weekly energy point of view, we are talking about the fluctuation, the vacillation between I did the worst thing ever to this was the biggest blessing ever. And this week we're really being supported to shift into a perspective change. And when you change your thoughts, you change your reality, you change your destiny. So it is a big theme for us this week, and especially stepping into the month of Aquarius, where all of the limitations and all of the barriers that we felt we were living behind begin to break free. And I am relieved and excited that we can welcome this energy. I should say, though, as we talk about the new moon of Aquarius, that in conventional astrology, we're just starting the month of Capricorn. So it's a little bit, it may linger, the seriousness and the burden attitude, life is a burden, might persist. At the same time, understanding that the Kabbalistic calendar is a measurement of energy, right? That we use it to measure energy, not to measure the passage of time. And that's why we emphasize that on the Weekly Energy Boost, because it's really what's speaking to our soul and driving our spiritual work. So even if conventional astrology tells us we're stuck in Capricorn still, our soul is being compelled by the energy of Aquarius this week. So we'll talk about that as well. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we aim to provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We can do that because we are students of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and we're teachers as well. And whatever we share that's relevant to this week can really be used to navigate any challenge, any time of the week, any time of the month, any time of the year. And so the big breakthrough I feel that we want to invite this week, now that we've set our goals, now that we have a trajectory ahead of us, we talked a little bit last week about releasing what we don't want in our lives anymore from 2023. I think that any real shift, any change is preceded by awareness, and how we perceive what happened to us is really what creates those shifts. Agree. So how can we help our listeners shift into that I keep using the word shift, ease into that perspective shift, so that everything that seems like a missed target, or, as I look at my goals from last year and I see what I missed, the marks I didn't hit, how do I prevent myself from looking at it as failure or as a mistake or a misstep, and recognize, we talk about it all the time, but actually achieving that state of mind is not easy work.
It's not. And that's exactly it. It takes practice. And in our innate nature, we learn, and Kabbalah one is coming up, that there's two parts to us. And those two parts are not one better than the other. They actually are here. We call it the ego and the soul, and we get into details about that in class. But I could tell you, because I'm actually married to a partial Capricorn, that the initial reaction when we don't like where we are, or we realize, we failed, or we made a mistake, or we wasted time, or whatever it is, whatever our story is, the initial reaction or the initial experience, I want to say, we cannot avoid that for a moment or longer, depending how much consciousness you have and how many tools you have at your disposal. But it's almost part of the natural process of evolving, of growing, of climbing what we call in our language the spiritual ladder. Because even when we are practicing, meditating, reading spiritual books, nothing can take us away from that moment of challenge, from that experience that our soul, for whatever reason, needed. And so, again, I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but that's the beginning part of it, that initially we're going to have to taste being in that place. And from that consciousness, I can move forward. It's not like I did something wrong and I messed the whole thing. Maybe I did, but it's still part of the movie of my life, of my lessons, of my greater self. And so, what was the question? I'm not sure I answered it. I rambled.
No, I believe that intellectually we all get, what I can look on the past, not everything, but we can all look at certain difficult times in our lives and say, yeah, that was terrible, but now I see the blessing in it. It's harder to do on certain things. Yes. And
on longer things, like longer processes.
So this is what the thing that comes to my mind, not only from my own personal experience, but from working with many people over the years, and you don't have to have experienced this to recognize it, is that divorce is one of those things that, nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, because I do know that some people do. Most people don't get married expecting to divorce, right? You did?
I didn't expect to get divorced.
No, you didn't.
I didn't expect it.
No, I'm saying
never.
I have met people who said they didn't think it would last when they got married. I'm saying most of us, we go into a marriage thinking it's forever, right? Or my parents, when I was young, separated for a long time. And obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but as a child, having experienced that, I thought I would never want to do that to my kids. Long story short, I did divorce my ex. I guess that by default makes him my ex. And it wasn't, I don't think for me that I regretted the actual divorce. For me, it became, I regretted getting everybody, like, why couldn't I have seen that it would end? Why did I get in it in the first place? Like, the regret and the feeling of failure came from not being able to recognize this was not the right relationship and building a family around not the right relationship. So even though after the divorce, I felt a million times better, it took a process to get me out of regretting the collateral damage of having that not being able to succeed, not being able to make it work, and also not being able to predict that it wouldn't succeed. Sorry.
We're very alike.
Is this too heavy for you?
No, actually no.
Not in the month of Capricorn either.
So you and I never really spoke about this because, we were in different time and places, but we never had to. But I feel very much the same as you when, if I think back when I went through divorce, I think my initial reaction was shocking of what a mistake this marriage was, right? And we know Kabbalistically there aren't any mistakes, but that's really what I felt, especially having a son and, having to put him through that process is what the first initial stage of my process was with where I was back then. I forgot, did you ask me a question?
No, it's more that I think that the shift, I know for me, it took me, again, the initial relief of thank goodness this is over. And at the same time also, how could I have failed so miserably? How didn't I see it coming? We work with people all the time that are going through walking away from a relationship, a business, a career. I think even I had a student that in the wake of losing her parents decided to walk away from a whole community, like a whole, kind of tribe, no longer having a connection to that group of people. And I think especially when, I was just in a class with with your husband. And a student in the class shared that she had been abused when she was younger, and she's working to heal herself in therapy and different beautiful, she's sharing her experience and helping others. And at the same time, there still is that the lingering effects of what happened. And I think that the shift between intellectually, I understand it needed to happen, it's all for my best, I'm a stronger person, I'm a better person. If we're honest, a lot of us still hold on to feeling failure, feeling regret, feeling, like you said, how did I not see it? How could I, that
self-blame,
the blame and the shame and the regret, I'm a bad mom, I'm a bad person, what could I have done differently, the negotiation, if I had only done this. So, putting aside, there's a couple maybe Kabbalistic concepts that help you step into it intellectually, but I feel that once you're able to really embody it, right? The Kabbalists say not only should you forgive and let it go, the goal is to get to the place where you actually bless the other person.
So I don't want to forget, because that's what happens. Like while you're talking, I am thinking
I know. I've been doing this for a while.
Exactly. So something that's really important that comes to mind, whether you're a Kabbalah student or not, but this is Kabbalistic because, the Rav Ashlag speaks about it. I believe in the wisdom of truth, if I'm not mistaken. And when you're in that stage where you're just, wow.
What the heck?
Yeah, you're shocked. You're blaming the other. You're blaming yourself. You have guilt. I mean, there's just so much going on in that place, whether it's divorce, like you said, or other that is shaking up our world. It's really important to place yourself in an environment that is supportive. And when I say supportive, I don't mean,
your friend saying he was a jerk, he deserved it, not that kind of
That's
support.
That's exactly right. Because, your soul is emerging through all the pain because, we go through sort of like a mourning stage, in its own way. And, we know Kabbalistically and spiritually that parts of me that are old, that need to mature spiritually, are basically shedding off. That's really all the pain and all the discomfort that we feel and all the confusion and all the, whatever's happening in our internal world. It's shedding old beliefs, old fears. The old me is dying, basically, is what is happening in a sense. And, although I don't know exactly why this happened and, why I didn't see it and where I'm even going, I would say that when you don't know what to do, know that it's almost like the universe is taking you in its own hands and it's reorganizing your life, your internal world, your external world, and you don't see yet the picture, and that's okay. It's okay to not know, but what you can do is place yourself around people that are of much higher consciousness than you are, and that will not feed into, even if you're right, the blame game, whether it's blaming yourself or the people involved, and that you are really working on your soul. You're working on your relationship with your soul and the creator and wisdom, and you're just placing yourself in a completely, and almost to the point that when those friends that feed that side of you, that, is justifying everything, that, that he did wrong or that you did wrong or that they did wrong or
they
the
saw
boss.
It coming.
Exactly. Whatever it is, it's not the time. There's time and place for that, for exploring, what the lessons are and how come and why I didn't see it. But
in the midst of it is not the place.
In the midst of the emotional, tornado that you're facing and your kids and whatever, if it's friends, if it's a husband, if it's other people involved, it's not the time. And you'll know when it's the time, because that time is a window in time where you actually are in a much softer place and you can talk about it without being charged by the whole thing. Yeah, so I would say that's one first step. Take yourself out of the old environment and create a new one fast. Yeah, otherwise you're prolonging that whole experience, which is not fun. I was lucky. I was placed, I think we all, by divine timing, have the right people around us, and we need to stick to them in those times and make it more our priority to be around that energy then.
I think one of the difficult things that happens to us when we experience something that can be perceived as a mistake or failure or the wrong thing is the lingering consequences. Meaning, maybe we'll take a step back from divorce and talk about, let's say, job change or getting fired, right? So I know a lot of people who can look at getting let go and say, you know what, I was miserable there. Or maybe they quit and they say, I'm really glad I'm not there anymore. But the fact that they're not making money now or making less money than they did before causes this loop of, I should have just stayed. What could I have, meaning again, going back to the past, rehashing it, negotiating with the creator, the universe, what I would have done differently, what I should have done differently. And again, that idea of, and maybe that it helps if you close your eyes and kind of visualize yourself in a film reel, that your life is really like a movie. And every second is like, how many slides, how many individual images make up a moment in your life. And to realize that any piece of film that is in the past was absolutely essential. Even if you could have said something else, you could have done something else, you could have been with someone else, there's infinite possibilities, right? That's the other thing Kabbalah teaches. There are infinite possibilities, but the ones that you chose, whether consciously or unconsciously, if they're in the past, that is exactly how they needed to be. Now, you can say, Elisheva, you Kabbalah teacher, you get to say that, but reality is, and I want to tell you, no, reality is not. By having that mindset, you actually transform the way your past affects you. And we've talked about this before in different ways, but I'm not sure we've spoken about it in this way. That if you say that was a bad marriage, it becomes a bad marriage. If you say it was great while it lasted and I'm glad it's over, you both celebrate its existence and celebrate its conclusion. And the more you focus on what wasn't or what shouldn't have been, not only is it darkening the impact that everything in the past has on you right now, it also takes you out of alignment with your soul, with source. Basically, and I know it sounds comical when I say it out loud. In my head, it sounds very elevated and spiritual. But when you say that something should have happened, what you're basically doing is saying the creator wasn't doing his job. There was no light there. This is a glitch in the system. And again, that perception may be justified. But anytime you are not in alignment with that source energy, your soul, the light of the creator, what you're doing, and this scares the pants off of me when I really think about it. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish the sentence. What we're doing in that moment is we are planting negative seeds for the future.
100%.
I want to say it in one sentence really clearly, that by criticizing or attacking or judging the past over and over and over again, especially, we are literally darkening our future, planting seeds of judgment, of harshness, and of criticism for the future. Green light.
Agree.
It's bad business.
It's bad business. It's a lose-lose situation for all the parties involved, whether it's a marriage, a divorce, a job, that I'm going to carry over, to the next job and kind of bring just that energy, forward, because I'm not trusting the system. I'm not trusting that the universe has my back. And actually, like you said, so many times I watch people that are telling you one thing for so long, and then they finally have what they want, and then they start doubting it. You know that experience, right? And something that comes to mind is, even if you don't know anything and you really catch yourself in that negative space and that negative talk and that, that rambling that goes on when we are uncomfortable and we are actually in doubt and we actually feel negative. We're humans, so we're going through a process until something dissolves with that. You can say something as short as, for whatever reason, my soul had to go through this. Maybe I don't see it now, and I don't feel it now, that's for sure, but I'm choosing to trust that my soul is going somewhere higher, and using that word, actually, my soul, because we get so caught up in the
identity.
Yeah, so caught up in that. And I think that's a great tool. Place yourself somewhere, and then just saying something as simple as, it's sort of like a surrendering in a way for that stage that you're in, but also we know our words have power. Saying something like that to the universe, for whatever reason, I'm not happy. I know I'm blaming. I know I'm being a little negative, trying my best. My soul needed that. And hopefully I'll see that one day. I'll see the connection between all that,
I think also we owe it we owe it to everyone listening to shine that same lens on what's happening in the world. We had the opportunity in November. We had a women's circle, and we gathered together, and I think it was something like 500 women from around the world. It was really beautiful on Zoom. And somebody said, I in my own life, I see blessings and the light, but when I look out at the world and all of the pain and the suffering, how can I see the good in that? Where is the good in that? And the discussion that ensued really focusing on the good. And I want to encourage everyone who's listening to do that both on a global scale and also on a personal scale. Whether you're going through something very difficult on a personal level, or it's simply being a citizen of planet Earth that is difficult right now, or at any given moment for that matter, that our ability to make a difference and to impact the situation, any situation for that matter, it really does depend on our mindset. And that, the phrase that you just shared with us, I may not see it right now, but there is goodness. There is light coming. It may be so dark right now that it's hard to see it, but to remember that it's always darkest before the dawn. And that in the wake, we've seen it so many times in history, there can be destruction and terror and pain and suffering, and somehow out of the ashes emerges unity and love and togetherness. And it's just in a way knowing that even if we can't see it right now. When you mentioned Rav Ashlag, I thought you were going to talk about the fruit, when the metaphor that the Kabbalists use is that, if you experience something bitter in your life, just remember you're tasting the fruit at the wrong time. That, the bitterness, not only that, but the more bitter a fruit is before it's ripe, the sweeter it's going to be when it is ripe. And when you judge the fruit because it doesn't taste right, you're basically saying bad timing, right? Like you don't have the patience for the process, but the process is underway. And so knowing anything that we judge as bad or not right, we're really just saying this fruit is not ripe yet.
And by the way, this happens a lot with, again, those of us who are doing spiritual work, actually. And we think like we shouldn't have, we've already got this, and our consciousness is constantly, on the highway. And actually, especially when we're doing spiritual work, we're still gonna experience that initial, it goes back to what I was saying, that initial struggle or internal judgment or judgment in my mind, or I'm not happy, or I need to talk to a friend, I need to vent out my feelings. But then I need to really observe that and go back and say, again, I know that there's something bigger. I know, because in my life, this happened and that happened. Look where it got me. Or the world, like you're saying, in history. So some of us think that because we're doing spiritual work, because we're even Kabbalah students, that this shouldn't be. There's no such thing. If you're experiencing something, it's exactly what you need for the moment to actually, again, choose to be what we call the light in the situation. And it doesn't always come automatically. It actually doesn't. We whenever we're climbing levels, there's different challenges both in our life and in the universe. And it's very easy to make the focus out there than what it's bringing up personally for me. Again, Yeah.
You remind me, I saw a beautiful visual. I can't even remember where at this point, but it was of two silver balls, one on a plane going, downward on like a maybe 45-degree angle, and another silver ball right next to it on a similar angle, but the path was up and down. So if you can imagine almost like a roller coaster, like one going just straight down at an angle and one going up and down and up and down. And the ball is still going, it's just going up and then down and up and down. And which ball do you think got to the end of the road faster? The one going up and down.
I'm not shocked.
And it was, obviously it's a, physics experiment kind of thing that kids might do in like third grade. But the lesson for me was the ups and downs are actually a faster way to my next level. That smooth, I think we perceive for some reason that smooth is a reward. It's a good sign. It means we're doing something right. And the fact that we have those ups and downs, and obviously focusing more on the downs, everybody would like the ups, but it's actually the going down, meaning I know that most people listen to the podcast, but if you're watching the video, it's like, it may seem like the smoother route is the faster one, but it's actually by virtue of the decline, the sharper decline actually creates momentum so that you get higher and then lower again, but you get higher and it moves the ball faster. So hopefully with this attitude shift, this perspective shift, and maybe you can guide us through a kind of visualization or something that can help us in those moments to return to that still peaceful knowing inside. Because we all have it. Underneath the chatter and the hysteria and the freaking out, that quiet voice, that still space inside of us is there for everyone.
And that's step number one, to know that we have it. And we need to just take a moment and remind ourselves and reconnect and realign ourselves with that peace that's inside us. Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Go. Me.
Okay. So let's take a moment. And if you're driving, of course, you don't want to do a meditation.
Do we have to close our eyes?
No.
Do you want us to?
I mean, it's easier.
Okay.
It's easier when you close your eyes. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be short and sweet. Okay. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, just wherever you are, sit comfortably and just start paying attention to your breath just for a moment as you inhale and exhale. And yes, close your eyes. Trust this moment that we're about to just bring in some beautiful, unlimited energy from the endless source to shine down, to come in to this reality here where we actually go day in, day out, working together, body and soul. And as you breathe, with every breath that you inhale, you're breathing in fresh, new light that's filling up your entire body. And as you exhale, you're just allowing yourself, letting go of the tension, of the stress, of the thoughts that bombard you. So we'll do a few more breaths, in and out, following each inhale and exhale at your own pace. And very quickly in our mind, we can do this. We can choose one place in our life right now that we know we're in process. We don't see or feel the lessons in it or the purpose in it or whatever it is that our other voice tells us. And we just allow ourselves to be as we are and accept where we are in our own process. And the voice of our soul comes and whispers in our ear, know that I am with you through all of it. And everything that is in the reality that you're experiencing right now is only taking you higher. Everything that you're experiencing right now, all the feelings, all the judgments, all the unknown, is making room for new energy, new consciousness to come in and take you somewhere higher. And just breathe through that a few times, inhaling that certainty, that new energy, new light is being born, and it needs time. It needs a foundation. And the discomfort and the unknown is nothing but part of creating a new foundation, a new container and a vessel to hold that light that's coming in. And we're just going to take a few more breaths, inhaling in and out. And on the count of 3, you can come back to the here and now and open your eyes. 1, 2, take a deep breath, and 3.
I love that that's also perfect timing as we wish the month of Capricorn farewell.
Totally.
What happened, happened. 2023 was what it was. Leave it all behind and really accept that it was all for the best. And now what's in front of me? What's the light I can reveal now? Knowing that that's always, I think that the hardest part of this consciousness for me to remember is that I'm constantly, with my actions right now, changing how my past affects me. And that's amazingly empowering, but it's also scary at times.
It is. I heard something a long time ago with one of these social medias that, everybody sends you all over the place. Is like, if we can fall in love with not knowing, what would life look like? Just fall in love with it. I don't know, but I know. I know that it's going somewhere amazing. And, the universe, the angels, the creator, my guides, they have my back. I don't need to know all the time.
Get excited when that not knowing happens.
Yeah, and in the meantime, try to do some fun things and not just focus on when is it going to happen,
Yes, absolutely. So Wednesday is the new moon of Aquarius, and as always, I want to encourage everyone to be their best selves, knowing that extra effort, extra positivity, generosity, compassion, humility, that's going to leave an imprint for the entire month. It's a great month for trailblazing, doing new things. I know that before the month of Capricorn started, we spoke about using this month to take a vacation. Really, it falls on the Gregorian calendar. It fell quite perfectly, but the idea is really that the pause is over And we have this beautiful energy of Aquarius to support us, and to really, now is the time to execute the plans that you created. The thing to be careful of is putting projects before people. Aquarians can be very goal-driven and less human, more achievement and less relationship-oriented. So it's a good time to pay attention to what relationships are at risk or being taxed because of our focus on other things. So the mantra is people before projects.
I like it.
Come down to our level, be with us. I have 3 Aquarians at home, so it's something that I have to remind them often. Be with us.
My son is Aquarius.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, we get it. And just to know that the universe has your back, that this is really a time to don't hold back. All engines go, and to really enjoy that support and that flow this month. And thank you again, Rachel, for being here. It was very powerful, and although not an easy conversation, an essential one. And the reality is that our perspective is really all that matters, and that can change at any moment.
Absolutely. We create every moment. Yeah.
So good luck creating this week, everyone. Again, if you're looking to have a more systematic approach to shifting perspective and to accomplishing what we've been talking about on Weekly Energy Boost, we invite you to sign up for one of our Kabbalah 1 courses that are starting all over the world in the next few weeks. You can find out at weeklyenergyboost.com what's starting either locally or online if you're in a different country or you speak a different language. All that information is available on weeklyenergyboost.com. You can also learn more about the work that Rachel does with individuals and groups if you're local to New York. But even if you're not local to New York, you can still set up a session, one-on-one session with her. That's also at weeklyenergyboost.com, as well as all the other things we think are important for our listeners to know. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, everywhere podcasts are found. And when you're at weeklyenergyboost.com, you can click the donate button to support the production of our podcasts. But most importantly, share this episode with everyone and anyone you know, because the world will be a better place for it. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.